Joe Biden's FBI got caught spying on Catholic churches to invent crimes like the KGB. It seems that the current DOJ and FBI have turned everything around from the way it used to be and the way it should be. The way it has worked up until now was a crime is committed and law enforcement goes out and tries to find the person or people who committed the crime. But the regime today picks a person or a group and wants to find a crime to fit them because they're trying to get rid of groups or individuals who they consider as political enemies. And they're doing it in broad daylight. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel where we expose a tyrannical state that violates the Bill of Rights without using protection, if you know what I mean. So we have Democrats charging the previous president with a misdemeanor records violation that the statute of limitations ran out years ago. And yet we have the current administration violating American citizens' rights all over the place, and not a single prosecutor in D.C. will lift a finger to stop them. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan of Ohio, he sent a letter to the totally compromised FBI Director Christopher Wray about how the FBI embedded an undercover informant into Catholic groups and Catholic churches, according to a leaked report on domestic extremism among Catholic Americans. Folks, they weren't looking for terrorists. They have been trying to attack Christianity to say that Christianity is full of terrorists. It's a campaign they're on. First, they tried to lambaste the MAGA Republicans as right-wing extremists who don't care about democracy, when nothing of the sort is true. I would say that these so-called MAGA Republicans are the most patriotic and law-abiding people everywhere you go across the fruited plains. And don't give me that whole J6 story, because that doesn't define MAGA Republicans. So I guess the "you must hate MAGA Republicans" program didn't work out so well for the Biden administration, and so now they're going after Christians. The Catholic Church is the largest Christian denomination as far as the people in the United States go. And so that made them a target of the amendment violators, the Marxist regime. Guys, it's the first clause of the First Amendment in our Bill of Rights. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. And it's always that second part of the clause that the Marxist regimes forget about, or prohibiting its free exercise. According to CBS News, Jordan's committee sent a subpoena to Wray on Monday, asking for data connected to its inquiry into the FBI's domestic violent extremism investigations against Catholic Americans. Can you believe this? And get this, Jordan's probe was launched in response to the January 23 release of an FBI Richmond Field Office letter that alleges that Roman Catholic groups who prefer the Latin Mass are vulnerable to anti-Semitic, anti-immigrant, anti-LGBTQ, and white supremacist ideology. For goodness sake, could they please stop it with the white supremacist ideology? Not everybody that these people have a disagreement with politically are white supremacists, for crying out loud. Again, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So now these Jacobins are trying to say that Roman Catholics who want to go back to the Latin Mass are domestic terrorists. These are the people who say that the MAGA Republicans come up with conspiracy theories. But folks, I got to tell you, to come up with this logic against Roman Catholic groups that want to go back to the Latin Mass being domestic terrorists, you have to do some major Olympic-style stretching to get there. So the FBI got caught embedding another informant into a targeted group of Americans in the hopes of being able to gather any information that the FBI can use against these Christians. And they have absolutely no problem doing it. They are violating the very tenet of the FBI. So far, I would gather that the Biden administration since January 20th, 2021 has violated every single one of the Bill of Rights, and probably beyond that. Maybe I'll do a video on that someday. Now, here's the thing. Senator Josh Hawley, in light of this news, put out a tweet saying, quote, "I specifically asked Merrick Garland whether the FBI was targeting Catholic parishes, and he said no. Now it turns out the FBI was using undercover sources in multiple parishes. Now, folks, if you lie to someone in the FBI, whether you're under oath or not, it's considered perjury, and you could do time and pay a fine for that. The same thing should be if a member of Congress asks a member of the administration or someone in the DOJ or the FBI a question and they blatantly lie about it. There should be consequences. But this administration behaves like they're the ones that have all the guns, so they don't abide by the rules and that pesky thing known as the Constitution or the Bill of Rights anymore. They act like they don't have to worry about things being on the up and up or they'll lose their jobs or that their supreme leader will lose his next election, but that's a whole other video. And for the Marxist atheists out there who say they don't give a damn because they don't like the Christians anyway, you better smarten up, guys. Because once they run out of Christians to persecute, they're going to start to go after Marxist atheist groups. Because the liberals always eat their own. And believe it or not, being an atheist these days is like a religion to you guys. According to the letter, the FBI wanted to sensitize the congregation to the warning signs of radicalization and enlist their assistance to serve as suspicious activity tripwires. In other words, the federal government wanted to get members of the Catholic Church to rat out people who are in a group that wants to go back to the Latin Mass. Now, folks, there is a whole history behind the Catholic Church, how they got rid of the Latin Mass. And when the Latin Mass was told, the priest mostly faced the altar or the tabernacle, if you will. He didn't face the people most of the time. And all that changed with the liberalization of the Roman Catholic Church in America years ago. So there are some Catholics who want to go back to the Latin Mass, which doesn't mean that they care so much about the Mass being said in Latin, but they want to go back to the conservative tenets of the Roman Catholic Church, and they are allowed to do that. Folks, these Catholic members are allowed to talk about going back to the Latin Mass. There's nothing irrational about that, and Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof. And there's going to be leftists out there that will say, why did you have to subpoena the FBI director? Why didn't you just ask him for the data? Well, they did, and he disregarded their request. Does anyone listening to my voice believe that anything will be done about this? The best that we can hope for is that they just stop doing it now that sunlight is acting as a disinfectant on their illegal behaviors. Okay, so that's it. Thanks a lot. Thanks for spending time with us. We'll see you in the next one.